Well, hello everybody. Good evening. This is Chaplain Ken, and you are here with me at Time with Chaplain Ken. Well, first off, before we get into tonight's topic, I want to thank everybody for giving me well wishes. My surgery went well. It's an ordeal when you get cut on, but when you're pushing 60, it's kind of hard to bounce back. That's probably where I'm at right now. Not 100%, but in the 90s. In the 90s. Still can't do what I used to do, but physically. But I'm on the mend. So thank you for your support, your prayers, and your kind wishes, and the kind words that you posted on Time with Chaplain Ken. Well, today we're still discussing the book Getting Out of Your Own Way by Mark Goldston and Philip Goldberg. We're reviewing this book. I was messaged by the author thanking me for doing a review on his book, and I told him I'd like to thank him also for writing the book. It's a good book, well written, good information, and it's my pleasure and honor to share what he has learned and to add a little bit of my own experiences to it as well. Well, today we're going over Chapter 7, saying yes when you want to say no. Again, this is another self-defeating behavior we need to look at, we need to discuss, and we need to consider, because this is something that we are in control of ourselves more than we realize. So, so when we're working with people, sometimes what happens is we get to a dysfunctional place in our experience with somebody, and we get railroaded, or we get abused, or we get mistreated in the process. The author puts out a story about two people who were working together to write a book, Becky and Ann. They wanted to collaborate, so they got excited about it. They got together, and before long, one of the persons became more domineering in the collaboration, and the other person was subordinated to the other. Becky was subordinated to Anne, and resentment began to build, and she didn't voice her thoughts because she didn't want to be seen as a complainer or something like that. So she kind of ate it after a while, and ate it and ate it, and took it and took it, and finally she couldn't take it anymore, and she just blew up. Kind of like our previous chapter when we kitchen sink somebody. Allowing that frustration to build, and instead of saying no to something, she just went along to get along. Sound familiar? You ever do that before in your life? You go along to get along because you don't want to rock the boat, you don't make the other party upset, you don't want to be seen as the person who's argumentative or complaining, or who wants to throw a wrench in the works, especially when everybody else is on board with whatever's going on. This happens quite a bit, doesn't it? It happens at work, it happens in families, it happens in church. It happens just about anywhere where one person becomes more domineering than everybody else, and they begin to dictate terms to everybody. Well, this is what happened in this circumstance. So he mentions in the book being able to say no without fear, or yes without resentment, is a common dilemma. Let me say that again. Being able to say no without fear, or yes without a resentment, is a common dilemma. If we can't say no because we're afraid to say no, we're going to end up doing what's told of us without question, and we don't like it. It just rubs against the nature. Nobody likes to be told what to do, especially when they don't want to do it. Y'all got teenagers? Then you know what I mean. Yeah, even as an adult, we still carry it along as an adult. Even in general, as a country, we love our freedom so much that being prisoner somewhere is just unthinkable. There's no way. It's tough for us who know freedom to be in bondage somewhere by anything. And so it kind of rubs against the grain. It's built in us. Nothing wrong with it, I think. So oftentimes in life, we often get groomed to say yes when we don't want to. This happens a lot. In addictive homes, it happens a lot. The person who has the addiction usually tends to create the environment where everybody says yes to his drinking, or looks the other way so they can continue drinking. He grooms the whole family so that they can have peace, somewhat, at least in their thinking, peace to do what they want to do. Go get drunk, go get high, do whatever. And so everybody gets groomed to say and do and be so that the addict or the alcoholic can continue on in their lifestyle. Sound familiar? All right. So in those homes, it's important for the family to say no, lovingly. It's important that in Al-Anon, for instance, when a spouse says no, that they do it out of love, not out of anger, spite, or hate, because then you'll only fuel the anger in the other. But if you can do it lovingly and detach lovingly from the behavior of the other, then you have more of a solid platform to work off of. So if you're going through something like that, saying no in your situation is more powerful when it's done out of love and out of respect. Not demanding, but at least drawing that boundary and saying, no, honey, I can't do that for you. You have to. And it allows them to become responsible, to hold themselves responsible for their lives. And that's when it kind of helps them to make that change too. So it protects you, it protects your family, it protects your self-esteem and your honor and your dignity, and everything gets preserved when we work that kind of a good program. So if you're going through that, hopefully that's one of those things you can use to help you make those decisions and move yourself into the right place. But in addictive home, sadly, without that kind of help, without that support from an Al-Anon, the addictive family tends to learn to say yes to avoid the fight. And working in drug treatment, there a lot of people have created arguments out of whole cloth, out of nonsense stuff that doesn't make any sense, that wouldn't make anybody mad, even on a good day. But they use it and spin it and twist it to make it ugly, so they can cause an argument so they can leave and go to the bar. True story. I mean, I used to do lectures and treatment, and I threw that out there. I said, how many people have ever done that? I was shocked at all the hands that went up. Yeah, they just make things up just so that they can have a reason to go drink or drug. So the arguments are used to get money, to get out of the house, so people can say, here, take this, just go and just get out of the house and go do what you want to do. Just don't do it here. And then they're off having fun, so to speak. So when we're looking at this kind of a situation back when we want to say no rather than saying yes, or we say yes when we want to say no, here's a good guideline to keep telling yourself. We teach people how to treat us. If we never say no, or we never say stop, or we never say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that. If we've never set that boundary for ourselves, we're going to teach other people how to treat us. If we keep giving in, they are going to think that what they're doing is okay. They're going to think nothing's wrong. You don't say no? Okay. Well, they must like this. And so the other party tends to look at it and say, and recognize that, this must be okay. So-and-so will do it. I'll just ask them. Or I'll treat them this way because they don't mind and they're saying nothing about it. So they assume that you're not gonna say anything, and so the behavior continues. And the only one you can blame when that happens is yourself by not saying no. So by realizing that we teach people how to treat us, we then begin to teach them how to treat us correctly. Because oftentimes when we don't say no, they'll treat us the same poor ways until the resentment builds so much that we can't take it anymore. And we explode. So by saying no, by setting your boundaries, by knowing where your lines are in your life, what principles you're willing to stand by, and not what lines you're not willing to cross, you can set those goals and those goalposts and those road signs or whatever you want to call them, and keep yourself in that straight and narrow path and say, yeah, I won't go past this. So when they come to that place where they want to push you across that line, you can say, no, I don't do that. And be okay with saying no without any fear, because it's your boundary and you have a right to your boundaries. You have a right to your standards. You have a right to protect you. You have a right to protect what's in here, in your heart, you, the individual. Your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, who you are as an individual. It's very sacred, very holy, and you want to protect that and defend that and take care of that. Because if you don't do that, then nobody else will. And it seems to be the same thing that happened with Becky and Ann. Becky didn't know how to say no quickly enough. So the idea then is to learn to say no quickly, in the minute, in the moment, not to let it linger or lag, because if you do it in the moment, then you set the record straight, and then you give the other person the opportunity to change their behaviors. Now, if they don't want to respect your behaviors, that's when you make your decision to say, I guess we can't work together. And then off you go. And taking care of you. That's what taking care of you looks like. No, and then backing up and saying, you probably need to find somebody else to help you with your book. Or you could say, listen, I don't like the way things are being approached. If I give input, I like to be respected, and it hurts when I'm not listened to. I'm not being heard. it's demeaning, it's demoralizing, it hurts me this, that, and the other, whatever way, and you explain it this way in a very assertive way, not an aggressive way, but an assertive way, saying, this isn't working for me because I notice that each time I say something, I'm shot down. That's disrespectful to me, it hurts me, and I can't work this way. Gives the other person the opportunity to change their behavior. Okay? And he suggests that in the book. So in those moments, take the time to set your standard and know what those things are. Know where your lines can be drawn. And that way you don't end up with a life being frustrated. And you can use that in any situation. Alrighty, so the usable insight, he says, when you can't say no without fear or yes without resentment, it's time to say stop. When it's starting to get to you, then it's the time to say, okay, stop. Can't do this no more. And then use your I statements. I feel whatever because this happens. Try to avoid the word you, because when you're gonna set the record straight, so to speak, and you keep on saying you, the other person's going to become defensive. So using your I statements is better, and you can look those up. Or maybe I'll do another podcast about I statements to help you work with that. Alrighty, so taking action. He suggested realizing that not wanting to go along doesn't make you stubborn or mean or defiant. It's just, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. That's it. If somebody wants to assign malice to you and point fingers at you and accuse you of something, then that's about them. It's not about you. People will usually do that to try to manipulate you, so don't do that. Don't fall for that. Let's listen to them and say, yeah, no, that's not it. These are my standards, and this is the way it's going to work. If we can't see eye to eye, then I'm done. I know. Make sense? If you have a comment or question, you can put it in the comments, and I'll get back to you. And then he suggests also understand that not saying no can be taken as a yes and can reinforce the unwanted behavior. So if we don't say those words, the other person's going to take it as a yes, an acquiescence. If we don't voice our opinion, if we don't say, yeah, no, that doesn't feel right, then the other person's going to think, okay, I can continue acting and behaving this way. Again, so it's back on us, isn't it? It is, because we're teaching people how to treat us. If we don't say no, we're saying to them, go ahead and treat me the way you're treating me. Make sense now? All right. He also says to make sure you confront the person at an opportune time, sooner rather than later. Express your grievance as an observation. If you can detach yourself from the emotions, not the feelings, but the emotions. That's the stuff that happens when we're feeling something and our emotions take over, and we start to correct or amend the process with emotions, with anger, with fervency, then it starts to cloud the clarity. All right. Sometimes you have to get emotional about things, but if you can do it with clarity and with purpose and through principle, it's much more powerful than being emotional. So principally, you look at it. So express your grievance as an observation. I've noticed this in their circumstance. I've noticed that whenever I volunteer an input, it's hardly received. And sometimes if you just say that, and you just let that sit there, the other person will have to sit and think about it, because you've accused them of nothing, but you've given them an observation. And as they think about it, they realize, oh, I didn't know. Can you tell me more? And there's your conversation. There it becomes healthy, if it goes there. Then you can say, yeah, it just bothers me, and I offer advice, and it's never considered. And you can use never if it's never. Don't use never if it's sometimes. You could say sometimes. Try to avoid never and always, unless it's never and always, which is kind of rare. But if it is, share those insights and see what happens, and give them the opportunity to grow as well. It'll strengthen the relationship, by the way. He suggests speaking in terms of how it hurts or frustrates you. Don't be accusatory or judgmental. Like I said, your I statements are about how the dynamic is affecting you. If they own their part, then they'll change. When you share your part as well, and that's another suggestion, is you give your input on how you have created some of this atmosphere by not saying no, perhaps. Maybe even preface it. It's been a while since I've kind of confronted anybody about some things that I've been noticing, and then you go into what you've noticed and witnessed, and you can own that. You can say, because I haven't said no, because I haven't told you, it's been going on too long, and that's my fault. But this is what's happening. Is there something we can do to change this? Then she can have some input, or they can have some input. And that's what he suggests. Admit your own participation in creating the problem. It always takes two, It always takes two. We kind of set things up. And like if we're teaching people how to treat us, and then all of a sudden people are treating us poorly, then we can say, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Because, we can change us. Can't change the others. We can give them opportunities to change themselves. But we can't change other people. But we can look at ourselves and realize, what, I never say no. I never stand up for myself. I never speak out. I always say yes when I should be saying no. Is that always word? But those are things that we can control in our own right. So pay attention to yourself, all right? So say specifically how you would like the situation to be different in the future, and make it sound like a suggestion or request, not an ultimatum. Make sense? All right. So that's chapter 7 on saying yes when you want to say no. Okay? So setting your boundaries and communicating in a way where your needs are being heard, where your feelings are being shared, how it's affecting you and what you would like to see different. And that's how we begin to make change and to communicate with people in a very healthy way. And that's always helpful. So, alrighty, that's all I got for you tonight. Again, thank you guys for commenting and wishing me well, praying for me. As I'm still on the mend, you can probably still hear it in my voice. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm preaching tomorrow at church, and so my sermon is done. I'm ready. I'm excited, and I hope that your weekend is well, that God blesses you, and that He keeps you in His arms. Once again, if you like the videos, feel free to like and follow. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps the podcast out. It gets it out there. Share it with your friends. I'm not charging a thing. This is just what I like to do to help people that are out there that may be hurting. Just what God has put in my heart. So I hope it helps. I hope that you've been blessed, and I hope that you continue to walk with God and feel His presence and mercy in your life. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.